Greetings and welcome to another River Radio Sports Central podcast alongside Matt Varney from 103.5 ESPN. I am Darren Kennard. And Matty V, we are headed down the home stretch. Just a couple of weeks left in the spring seasons. Last week we saw the girls' state championships in Charleston, the state track and field championships. The boys' state track and field championships are this weekend. Softball is into the sectional round. Baseball postseason is underway with regionals. It's all going on right now.
Yeah, it's all staggered, but it's just every week it's more and more and more. Boys track and field got plenty of representatives there that I think have a chance to if not medal, maybe take home the gold for some of them, which is great. We saw a lot of these guys that are going to go there, whether it's as a team or individual. We saw a lot of these guys last year that were kind of on the come up. You say, kind of extrapolate and say, okay, this is what they did this year. Right. Imagine what they're going to do in the coming years. And so we're looking for a good week. Good weekend in Charleston this weekend for our area track athletes and softball. Man, we're really in the heat of things. Baseball is heating up, but you've kind of got that oven on preheat right now. Whereas you for softball, you've got the food ready to go in the oven, and you open it up and you're like, whoa, blast of hot air, and we're ready to go. It's sectional finals time.
I think sometimes people think about that with us in this podcast. Oh, the hot air. But we'll go back to the girls' state track and field. We didn't have any individual state champions, but we had a couple of runners-up. And it really continued that success we've seen both in the boys and the girls in the throws. As Michaela Gajewski from Nashville got second in the shot, Emma Skeet from Marion got second place in the two-way shot. They both also medaled in the discus. What's interesting with Michaela is she threw a personal best, bettered her school record. She got beat on the last throw, and when you do your best, if somebody is just a little bit better, it's hard to be disappointed with that kind of effort.
Sure, obviously you are, but I mean when you leave it all out there and you get second best, you've done a personal best as you mentioned, and you get second place. If nothing else, that might be the best place to be in your career of coming back next year, whether you're coming back for high school or you're going on to college, it doesn't matter. You sit there and say, well, now I got to be better. I got to find a way to do better, because whether it's next year, someone's going to be trying to do the same thing, or if I'm in college, well, that's what I'm dealing with all the time. So it's obviously very disappointing for the athlete, even if they leave it all out there. But
at the same time, to
be that close, it's tough. But again, you leave it all out there. It's tough to be disappointed. But again, you're in a great position where you're like, man, I did so great, but I know there's still room to grow, because I got to get to that next level to get that goal.
And the one thing that she said is that, Emma had won the state championship last year. Yeah. Michaela won 2 years ago. And the throw this year, Michaela's best throw was, I think, like 5 feet better than the one that won her a state championship. So some of it's all about timing as well. But again, kudos to all of our area medalists, and good luck to the boys competing this weekend. As you said, we have several that we should see on the medal stand and have that chance to be standing at the top. And so we'll go ahead and shift gears and go ahead and talk about that hot oven that is the softball postseason, as most of the sectional finals are set as of our recording here on Thursday morning. Yesterday, I know people go, why are these sports guys always talking weather? But one of the strangest phenomena that we've seen maybe that looked like the one rain cloud on the radar went over Nashville, and so they had to move their baseball regional, the first game over to Freeburg, and then the softball sectional semifinal between Flora and Redbud was postponed till today. So that sectional final won't be set till today. But on the other 2A side, Carterville advanced, beating Pinckneyville at Pinckneyville 9-0 in the first one. Cadence Phillips doing Cadence Phillips things. I mean, 5 innings of no-hit ball, 11 strikeouts, and she becomes the school's all-time leading strikeout career-wise with 947, with several games potentially in front of her still. And she passed Brittany Ashton, who ironically is not probably the right word, but was one of her first pitching coaches.
Right,
is where she kind of started learning the craft, and so that's kind of a neat storyline.
Couldn't write it up better, I think, is the best way to phrase it there. Really, just in that, I'm sure that Brittany was there to enjoy it with. Because to see the student surpass the master, if you will,
right?
It's always something where you're like, I don't want my record to be broken, but if it's gonna be someone, it might as well be my student.
Right.
So and Taryn Ford had a great game as well. 9-0 over Pinckneyville. That's not something to sneeze at. I know Carterville's been dominant all year long, as we expected them to be, but Pinckneyville's a really good team. To shut out Pinckneyville was something that really rose my eyebrows. And then to see yesterday that we've had them penciled in the past 2 years really of Carterville, Anna Jonesboro, and Mount Carmel just overcomes Anna Jonesboro, and so we don't get that matchup in the sectional finals this year, but at the same time, I mean, Mount Carmel's really good too.
Well, and that's the thing, is that coming into that game yesterday, I did not anticipate a pitcher's duel like that. I mean, those teams have both had the lumber going all year long. I thought it might take at least 6 or 7 runs to win that, and then it turns out to be a 2-1 game. And Lila Keeps holds AJ's offense to 2 hits, I believe, is the tally.
I think so, yeah.
That's impressive. And so, what you have here is a championship matchup with Carterville and Mount Carmel. That game will be Friday afternoon at 4:30. And so again, when you look at Carterville's runs in the past few years, they finished second last year. They won state the year before. Some of their toughest games to get to state have come, in these either regional finals, sectionals, whatever. And it just shows the depth of the teams in Southern Illinois.
Without a doubt. I've always said that it's kind of the hidden gem of Southern Illinois. People don't, I think, know nearly enough and don't appreciate nearly enough the high school softball that goes around this area. But you look at that matchup right there, and obviously Carterville is just so good that you sit there and say, well, obviously they got to be the favorite. But then you hear about what Mount Carmel did to Anna Jonesboro, and obviously Carterville's all around a fantastic club. They can get in a pitcher's duel, but you sit there and say, well, if they can hold down the Carterville offense again, are we looking at an upset for the Lions? And so obviously both teams are going to bring their best sectional final, but it is one of those games that you're sitting there being like, man, if they get into a pitcher's duel and maybe a total of 5 hits happen in the entire game, it's anybody's game. So Mount Carmel has to be feeling like they've got their wheels spinning at the right time, and that they're walking in as best they possibly could. Carterville, though, obviously is not going to underestimate the Aces.
No. Absolutely, and again, it's a lot like we see playoff hockey.
Yeah,
I mean, you're a hot goaltender away from being done, and pitching is that great equalizer too. In that run a couple years ago, Carterville had a 13-14 inning game with Carmi White County that was scoreless, because it was just an absolute pitcher's duel, and then it comes down to who cracks, who maybe makes the mistake, or how does it go? And so very, very interesting, intriguing matchup. Winner goes to SIU on Monday for the 2A Super Sectional against the winner of the Nashville Sectional, which will either be Richland County or Flora or Redbud. One of those 3 teams will be there in Carbondale on Monday, which will be the second game. There it is, the 1A 2A doubleheader, and in 1A at the Elkville sectional, we got a dandy. Waltonville, Sesservalier, and Goreville both administered beatings in the semifinal games. WSV beat up on a shorthanded Pope County team, 16-0 in 4. Then yesterday it was Goreville 11-0 over Crab Orchard, which that was a surprising result. Not that Goreville won necessarily, but I thought that was going to be a nail biter, and I really thought that was a big time matchup.
Yeah, that was another one that was okay. The team is rolling at the right time. They got all the gears are turning at the right time and in the right way. that really popped my eyes out right there. So obviously Goreville's going in thinking that they've got greatest chance they could coming into the sectional finals. But Waltonville, man, what a tough team that is to be faced up against for anybody. I mean, this is two teams that probably are sitting there saying we should be at least super sectional teams. So it's going to be interesting, without a doubt. It's going to be one of those games that you sit there and say, this might be the one I have to go to if you're a softball fanatic. So, man, that is one that, especially Goreville, again, that score popped my eyes right there when it came through. And this is kind of a rematch a little bit from boys basketball, obviously.
Right.
Obviously, it's not the same players, but you have the same schools, and so I would not be surprised if those fan bases come on out and support the girls.
And for softball fans, the good thing is that the 2A is on Friday and then the 1A is Saturday morning. So you have that opportunity to do that. The winner advances to the 1A Super at SIU on Monday. That's at 4:30. They would play the winner of the Casey Westfield sectional, which is either Casey Westfield or Windsor Stu Strauss, who beat Edwards County 1-0 in 8 innings. And so that's going to be a dandy sectional final. Last year in the Super, it was Waltonville Session and Casey Westfield, and Casey won. So, again, I think back on the side with WSV and Goreville, it reinforces what we talk about a lot here. Scheduling matters.
It does.
You're talking about two teams there that they play a ton of 2A teams. You know, when you look at Waltonville's losses, Carterville, Waterloo, Casey Westfield. I mean, those are all teams that are still playing and playing for the right to go to the Elite Eight.
Exactly, and that's what you got to do. And I mean, we see it in every sport that if you play up, you're generally going to reap benefits at some point down the way from doing that. And the good ones are the ones that are reaping those benefits in the postseason. And so there's lessons learned. You know, obviously you want to. I used to talk with Kyle Smith-Peters all the time at Logan, and just he always said we want to learn while winning. Right. But you're not going to win every game. If you do, you're having a fantastic season, but you shouldn't expect to win every single game. And so there's lessons to be learned in those losses, and the really good coaches are the ones that are able to kind of extract those lessons and put them towards these games that really matter now.
And what's also interesting on these two clubs is the amount of underclass talent on the roster. There's very few seniors. I think Waltonville Cessville only has one. Goreville only has two. Yesterday's Kinley Bryan, the pitcher for Goreville, not only did she pitch a 2-hit shutout, she also had 3 doubles, drove in 3, reached 100 strikeouts for the season, and did I mention she was a freshman? And so they've got a couple freshmen that have been kind of sharing the pitching duties, and so again, it just shows you that they're good now, and they have the potential to be really good for a long time.
Yeah, which, I mean, we were talking about Carterville about that a few years ago, and that really hasn't stopped for them. I mean, they continue to have freshmen this year helping out the cause, and so but it just goes to show just how invested softball players and their parents have been recently, and that you know, obviously they're finding the programs they want to go to, obviously, and setting themselves up, but at the same time they're really investing in it and getting good at their craft, so that when they enter high school, they're like, we got 4 years to really make an impression, try to win a state championship or 2, and just it just again goes back to just the training and the investment that goes in by the players and their parents.
And I think with softball, maybe more than any other sport, in numbers and in quantity and quantity, the number of freshmen that come in and are impact, not just, hey, they get playing time as freshmen, which is a big deal.
Sure.
You know, especially at schools that are, you know, successful, but they are impactful. They are, you know, the pitchers doing things. They're starters. They're people that plug into, you know, the 3, 4, 5 spots in the lineup, and so you see those kids that have, you know, you mentioned the training and, you know, travel ball and all this and that, but it gets them ready for it. They step in as freshmen.
Yeah.
They are not overwhelmed by the moment.
No.
It is nothing.
No.
It is not necessarily anything that they haven't seen level wise.
Right, exactly. And I can't speak too much on travel ball and but I think there is a little bit of a difference in travel ball for softball versus baseball, and that you're not trying to learn 6 different pitches if you're a pitcher or whatnot. Whereas in baseball, obviously, you're trying to get that repertoire going as quickly as possible. But it's really impressive what has all happened, and it's cyclical, this way of thinking, but the willingness to start freshmen, I feel like that it's not a new thing per se, but I feel like 10 years ago it was much more the veterans going to get the start, and
right.
now the more willingness to be like, well, we saw you in February and you have some pretty good stuff, let's go ahead and throw you in the fire. And they usually do pretty well in the fire. And if they don't, they know they got that veteran to lean back on.
And travel ball, that's a whole other issue that has its downsides, of course. But just talking about the level of competition in a lot of cases, that's kind of where we're going there. On the baseball side, where it was kind of softball side saw a lot of the 1s and 2s advance to the championship games of the sectional. It has been chaos in baseball. I mean, Carmi-White County's a 10 seed, and so they win 2 upsets by seeds, including knocking off 2nd seeded Fairfield to reach the championship game over at Mount Carmel. You've got Heron winning at DuQuoin. DuQuoin was a top seed at home, and Heron as a 7 seed picks up the 2nd win of the postseason. Now the Tigers will be playing for a regional championship,
which is, for people that kind of just know the story of the Heron baseball season last year and just kind of all the trials and tribulations that roster went through, and now they've kind of came into this year with a fresh season, fresh look in their eyes, still pretty young, and to do what they, DuQuoin is a perennial powerhouse. To go and do it at DuQuoin, it just goes to show that Chad Mulholland is doing great things there and got them moving in the right track right there.
Well, last year we saw West Frankfort go on one of those Cinderella type runs. They only had, I think 5 wins in the regular season.
Yeah.
It was maybe a one hand. You needed one hand to count the wins.
It was must watch baseball.
And they ended up making to I believe the sectional final, so it gave older fans kind of some memories of Heron's run to the super sectional back in '94, which I know is before your time. And
I was here. I was here on this earth. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that we won't get into that. But more old guy vibes for me. It's fine. But again, a team that maybe had struggled during the regular season, but found a way to put it all together at the exact right time and making it click. And this Heron baseball team, and again, no guarantees that they're going to win.
Sure.
Because in baseball, different than softball, the pitching is the difference. Because but having played Monday, depending on how the pitching went, they would have a chance potentially to come back and pitch Saturday, or at least depending on the pitch counts and all that jazz. But again, just some interesting storylines and just different. It's been very top heavy on softball and been utter chaos in baseball.
Well, the score that, again, an eye popper for me this morning was seeing Marion beat East St. Louis 10-0 in 5 innings yesterday as well, and that's a little bit of revenge for Marion right there. Those boys remember what happened in basketball season, obviously, but because when we were talking about East St. Louis all this year is just the fact that some of the kids that they had gotten this year, it was like, okay, they'd gone from just a football powerhouse to now they just had a bunch of athletes at the school.
Right.
And it was, okay, so obviously basketball they're going to be good in. So you get into spring, you're like, track they should be pretty good in, but they should be pretty good in baseball as well. And so that's about all the generics I know about East St. Louis baseball. But at the same time, what we know about all this year for East St. Louis, you expected them to have a pretty good club, and for Marion to go and get that kind of little bit of revenge for the basketball team right there, and in such a dominant fashion, you sit there and you say, man, that first of all, good for Marion, and I think for most of Southern Illinois, thank goodness. But at the same time, it's just you sit there and like they probably had a couple of those kids on the football and basketball team playing baseball. that they're good and they got shut out and run ruled.
Yeah, and Marion's playing really well right now. I think that was their 15th straight win or something like that. Be playing for a regional title on their home field. Over at Mascoutah, Mount Vernon beat Centralia.
Yeah.
And so that'll be the last meeting between those two for a while. So Mount Vernon gets into the regional finals. And then what was interesting, and I don't know if you saw this on Twitter last night, the nightcap at Mascoutah was delayed, and it was moved to today because of fog.
I've seen that happen a few times, but it's not often.
Right, and so we had such a kind of some weather anomalies. We had the one cloud storm that goes over Nashville that wipes out their softball game, and then fog last night in Mascoutah, the Mascoutah-Cahokia game. Yeah. Causes that one to be delayed till today, and it just again, Mascoutah is likely to win. Cahokia is a struggle, and so that sets up Mascoutah and Mount Vernon for the championship.
Should
there.
Be interesting.
Again, it'll be a tough hill for Mount Vernon having to play at Mascoutah, and who knows? I mean. They apparently don't need the fog machine at Mascoutah because
I was going to say they might bring the fog machine out again on Friday night. Who knows? But I mean, obviously Mount Vernon's been pretty good this year. They're one of those teams that the score gets reported and you're like, there's another win for Mount Vernon. But for them, especially as a school, Centralia's had their number all year long in just about every sport. And so for them to go ahead and get that win in what will be basically the last meeting between the two schools before Centralia splits from the South 7, I have to imagine there's a lot of people at Mount Vernon Township High School today that are like, we got the last laugh. Yes. You may have won the war, but we got the last laugh.
And being a postseason victory makes all the difference.
Very sweet.
Covers up a lot of the rest that you can kind of just push to the side. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the River Radio Sports Central podcast. For Matty V, I'm Darren Kennard. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.